Today in cloud gaming news, we're going to be covering the latest from Amazon Luna, Google Stadia, and Xbox game streaming, but to kick things off, we actually have a quick update on PlayStation Now. I think it's fair to say that in general, Sony's been pretty quiet in the cloud gaming space. That being said, they have been improving PS Now over time. Earlier this year, they did roll out 1080p streaming to the service, and it has been rumored for quite some time that they are making some adjustments in the backend to improve it even further. Well, a new patent has been discovered regarding PlayStation Now, and it may be hinting toward the possibility of PlayStation 5 games being added to the service. In fact, the way it's laid out, they may even be trying to future-proof for the PlayStation 6. So to break down the patent itself, it's to describe an ultra-high-speed, low-latency network storage system. It's specifically about using multiple NVMe drives like the one found in the PlayStation 5 networked together for the purpose of streaming games. The system itself would have multiple copies of the same content across different storage drives that might switch between different drives depending on the workload. And alongside keeping track of the data blocks on these individual drives, the system can pull different blocks of data from multiple drives at once for processing. In theory, this should allow it to pull required data at faster speeds than the individual drives can provide, which could hint toward PS6 support down the road. While talk of the PlayStation 6 might sound a bit too early, it's important to remember that most console manufacturers start working on a console successor the moment one launches. It's also worth noting that it is just a patent and it doesn't guarantee that this work is being done, so keep that in the back of your mind. I also wouldn't say that it's too far off the mark. We know that they recently signed a deal with Microsoft for the Azure cloud servers, and we know that they are working on upgrading PS Now as we speak. I would argue it's more a matter of time and not if they'll bring PlayStation 5 games to PlayStation Now. Moving on from that, let's talk about Stadia, because they just stealth dropped the game onto the service. Not only that, but it happens to be a title that's launching straight into Stadia Pro. If you log on right now, you can claim Mafia 3 Definitive Edition along with the rest of the Pro games for the month of October, and this is genuinely a nice surprise for a couple of reasons. One, the Stadia community has been aching for a Mafia game to arrive on Stadia, and that's simply because the Mafia Remastered collection was announced for Stadia, but it's only until now that we're getting one of the games. But the second and more important reason in my opinion is the fact that this is 2K Games putting a game onto Stadia Pro as soon as it launches. Some people were concerned that 2K may have abandoned Stadia completely since they didn't put out NBA 2K22 on the platform. And while it certainly isn't a brand new title, it still suggests that they have interest in putting out games on Stadia and are willing to make these Stadia Pro deals with Google. I'm still hoping we'll get to see the first Mafia remaster arrive because that's one I really want to play. It is a nice bonus to get Mafia 3 through Pro. Now, the port itself does run at 1080p 30fps. By no means am I willing to call it a top tier port, but it does run well and plays well more importantly. And I would suggest you check it out if you've been wanting a sandbox game on the platform. It really does fill that niche well. Moving on from that, we're going to be talking about some pretty big Xbox game streaming news. First up, we have Microsoft putting some XCloud integration on Xbox consoles. It's currently in testing for Xbox insiders within the Alpha Skip Ahead and Alpha Rings. By the wording given, it's heavily suggested that Microsoft wants users to use this to actually try out games or demo them before they download them onto their system. From my understanding, there is no sort of time limit for you to actually play the game, so you can just fully play them through here. But I do think it's interesting to see how Microsoft is currently spinning the narrative, and rightfully so. After all, many of these users probably just bought a Series X or Series S and don't want to feel burned. Not to mention, Xbox game streaming, while serviceable, still has some ways to go. Regardless, this is fantastic news, and I have no doubt that a lot of people will be introduced to cloud gaming because of it. Seriously excited for this to launch officially on all Xbox consoles regardless of whether you're an Xbox insider or not, because I have no doubt that it will open up some eyes. The second part of Xbox game streaming news has to do with the fact that it is now launched in Australia, Japan, Mexico, and Brazil. Region expansion like this is absolutely fantastic news, as there are a lot of areas that still don't have any sort of cloud gaming available, and if they do, it's always great to have options on where you want to play, especially with how easy it is to hop from one service to another when it comes to cloud gaming. But now it's time we take a look at the last cloud gaming news story of the day, and that revolves around Amazon Luna. and that's the fact that they just announced some games that will be coming soon. For the Luna Plus channel, you can expect Alien Isolation. The Ubisoft Plus channel this month will get both Far Cry 6 and Riders Republic, and lastly, the Family channel will get Monster Harvest. All in all, a good set of games. Alien Isolation makes a ton of sense since it is the month of October, but Ubisoft, as per usual, is definitely carrying the cloud gaming space by bringing its latest AAA titles to as many cloud platforms as possible. It is also important to remember that other previously announced games like Coco Life, Olia, and Open Country are still coming soon. I would say there's a pretty good chance those games will make it for the month of October. Either way, that wraps up all the cloud gaming news for the day. If you enjoyed the video or found it helpful at all, be sure to hit that like button as it really does help the channel out, and if you're wanting more content like this, be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell as well. As always, thank you for watching the video. This has been the Virtual Cloud, giving you the latest and greatest on everything cloud gaming and VR related, and until next time, I'll catch you in the clouds.